If you've been around this channel for a while, you know a few things about me. You know I love cinema, I've watched over 4,500 movies, from silent era masterpieces to obscure films to trashy B-horror flicks that I will defend with my life. It takes a lot for me to come out and say something like, this is the worst film I have ever seen. I like to find the silver lining and I like dissecting why something didn't work rather than just screaming into the void. But today the silver lining does not exist. Today we're talking about The Ice Cream Man. I spent 90 minutes watching this movie and I can say honestly that it was 90 minutes of my life that I'm never getting back. It didn't just fail as a horror movie, it failed as a piece of storytelling, as a comedy, or even like a coherent human document. I felt my brain cells actively packing their bags and leaving the theater. But kudos to the actors, kudos to the kids, the parents, the background extras, the teachers who were showing up to set every day and tried their hardest to make this script work. This isn't on you, you did your jobs, okay? But the script, the direction, the overall execution, it failed completely. The Ice Cream Man felt like someone fed 500 hours of bad TikTok trends into an AI, shook the computer, and called it a movie. Hello and welcome to the Borderline Reviews. My name is Siddhi, this is my emotional support octopus Sam, and today we're reviewing The Ice Cream Man. So when Sam gets upset or if we rate a movie that's bad, he gets flipped over. But because Ice Cream Man is atrocious from the beginning, he's already flipped over. Let's start with who wrote this film. No, seriously, who sat down a keyboard and thought, yes, this is how human beings speak to each other in 2026. It has the ultimate how do you do, fellow kids energy. It's like a group of 50-year-old executives sat in a boardroom, looked up Gen Z, Gen Alpha slang on Urban Dictionary and threw every single buzzword into a blender. The kids are cursing like crazy and for no reason. The dialogue doesn't flow, it stumbles from one unnatural regurgitated phrase to another. It literally sounds like AI vomit. The dialogues are atrocious. And I don't just mean it as a metaphor. This film has actual generative AI built into the fabric of this film, and it is painfully obvious. You can spot the cheap, uncanny valley AI assets and lazy visual hacks from a mile away. When a film relies on generative AI to bridge narrative gaps because nobody bothered to write a cohesive scene or even shoot or direct it, you end up with a product that feels hollow, robotic, and completely devoid of human soul. And it was. Ice Cream Man was horrible. The kids in the film that we're supposed to root for were insufferable. And not because the child actors were bad, but because they weren't written as real kids. They were written as annoying conduits for outdated internet quips. You never care about them, you never root for them. And by minute 15, you're practically praying, like, Ice Cream Man, just do what you want. I want this movie to finish. Bad slang is one thing, but the actual humor in this movie, it goes from cringe to genuinely uncomfortable. At one point, the dad character, who is played by Eli Roth himself, by the way, makes a weird, creepy joke about young girls in bikinis. Like, why is that in this movie? Who was that joke for? What emotion was that supposed to invoke from an audience that, other than pure skin-crawling disgust? And then I could not believe my ears when this line was delivered. There's an actual eating disorder joke in this film. Fair warning, if you struggle with ED or anything, you might just want to skip the next 30 seconds. There's a 12-year-old teenage girl in this film who says, "Of course I know how to puke, I am a teenage girl." Are you kidding me? In what universe is bulimia a throwaway punchline for a teenager in a cheap horror movie? It's not witty, it's not dark humor. Dark humor requires edge and intelligence. This was just tone-deaf, lazy writing for people who clearly didn't care enough to read their own script before hitting print. It's these bizarre, insensitive beats that ruin any chance of tone in this film. Is it a campy kid adventure? Is it an adult slasher? It doesn't know. It just throws like gross stuff, inappropriate gags at the wall and hopes something sticks. Spoiler alert, nothing sticks. And then we get to the character dynamics of this film, which bring their own set of bizarre, unquestionable choices. In this friend group, there is a black kid who spends the entire movie wearing a t-shirt that literally says problem on it. Now, on its own, maybe you don't think twice about costume design, but when you look at the microaggressions baked into this horror film and how historically horror films have treated minority characters, putting the one black kid in the group, and that t-shirt literally labels him as the problem, it comes in very terrible taste. And the irony of it all, he was literally the only character in the movie with a functioning brain. He's the only one using basic logic, the only one making sense and sensible decisions, while every other kid around him acts like they're competing for an award in poor decision making. So my question to you, Eli Roth, is why frame your smartest character as the problematic one? It's just another example of how carelessly this movie was put together. No thought was given to any subtext, any optics, or basic character development. There is just this full-length scene where the elder teenager sister is crawling across the floor in just weird, awkward positions, and you can't tell me that that wasn't on purpose. Now let's talk about the horror elements, because I know people are going to say, it's a gross horror movie, what did you expect? So let me just say this, I have seen plenty of gross horror movies. I am a horror fan, it's my favorite genre. I've sat through extreme cinema, body horror, splatterpunk, you name it. A lot of people compare cheap horror shock value to the Terrifier films, but here's the difference. Love them or hate them, the Terrifier films have an identity. Damien Leone has a clear vision, incredible practical effects artistry, and Art the Clown is a masterclass in modern silent physical performance. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of them, but there is, you can argue, some kind of craft behind the gore. The Ice Cream Man doesn't have any craft. It has gross out gags for the sake of gross out gags, stripped of any narrative tension, style, or purpose. It relies entirely on cheap shock value because it doesn't have a plot to fall back on. When you remove the narrative spine from a horror film, the gore isn't scary or thrilling. It's just tiresome. It gets boring real fast. So we must ask ourselves, why did Eli Roth make this film? So Eli Roth might have had a tiny bit of contribution in the 2000s with films like Hostel or Cabin Fever, but at this point, he just needs to step away. He needs to stop making these films, or at least take a long, hard break to figure out what he actually wants to say as a filmmaker. Producing and backing empty, soulless schlock like this does nothing for the genre. It dilutes horror, it gives the genre a bad name, and proves every critic right who says horror is just brainless noise. At the end of the day, I don't enjoy making videos like this. I love movies too much to want them to fail. I feel for the crew, the practical effects artists who worked long hours, and especially the young artists who gave it all despite being handed a script that actively worked against them. But as audience members, we have to demand better. We have to stop accepting half-baked, AI-assisted, tone-dead cash grabs just because they have a flashy poster or a recognizable producer's name attached to them. If you want good kid-led horror, go watch It, go watch Super 8 or The Black Phone. If you want brutal practical effects / fun, watch Thanksgiving or Terrifier. Do not give 90 minutes of your life to the Ice Cream Man. Save your time, save your money, and save your sanity. So if you made it through this video, let me know in the comments, what is the absolute worst movie you've had the displeasure of watching recently? Let's suffer together down below. Until next time, keep watching good cinema, and I'll see you in the next review.